The story, The Chosen One and the Journey Through Darkness. The sky was still dim at dawn. Daniel sat quietly in his small room, the light from the window just bright enough to reveal the yellowed pages of his old Bible. For many months, his heart had carried a heavy burden. Unstable work, friends drifting away, and prayers that seemed to vanish into silence. He wondered, does God still hear me? Am I truly one of the chosen as he promised? In those days, everything around him felt like an endless night. Each morning he fought with himself just to rise. Each evening, before closing his eyes, he heard a whisper in his mind. It's over. Your dreams are gone. Yet, in the middle of his despair, there was a mysterious voice he could not silence. It was not the noise of the world, but a gentle echo deep within his soul. Do not give up. You are chosen. Be patient, for your breakthrough is near. The invisible chains. Daniel felt bound by invisible chains, sleepless nights, shattered dreams, and fear of the unknown future. For a time, he believed God's silence was proof that he had abandoned him. But as he read the scriptures again, he realized these trials were not signs of defeat, but birth pains for something greater to come. He remembered the story of Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and imprisoned for a crime he never committed. Joseph's life appeared to be nothing but misfortune. Yet the very pit and prison became the doorway to the palace, where Joseph would be lifted up to save an entire nation. Daniel sat still, tears falling on the pages as he read the words in Genesis. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. He whispered, maybe what I'm enduring is not meaningless. Maybe God is using it to lift me to a place I cannot yet see. The endless waiting, though, comforted by Joseph's story, Daniel still carried the heavy weight of waiting. Years of unanswered prayers felt unbearable. Waiting, at times, was more painful than suffering itself. Each day stretched out like a test of his faith. He remembered Abraham and Sarah. They had received the promise of a son, but the years passed with no fulfillment. They doubted. They tried to take matters into their own hands. But in the end, at the appointed time, Isaac, the child of promise, was born. One evening, Daniel lifted his eyes to the starry sky and thought, if the Creator could place every star exactly where it belongs, surely he will not forget his promise to me. His delay is not his denial. His plan is still unfolding, even when my eyes cannot see. The desert of faith. But Daniel's journey was not just about waiting. It was also about wandering through the desert of emptiness. He felt dry, weary, and alone. Like Israel after their exodus from Egypt, he thought freedom would immediately lead to the promised land. Instead, it was years of wilderness. He remembered the words in Deuteronomy. Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years, to humble and test you, to know what was in your heart. Daniel realized the wilderness was not punishment, but a classroom. It was in that desert that people learned to rely on manna from heaven and to walk under the guidance of cloud by day and fire by night. Deep down, Daniel understood that his own desert was a place where God was teaching him absolute trust, stripping away what did not belong and preparing him for a future still hidden. The moment of near surrender. There were nights when the burden grew too heavy. Daniel thought of quitting. But then he remembered the woman who had suffered from bleeding for 12 years. No doctor could heal her, no medicine could bring relief. Yet when she heard Jesus was passing by, she pressed through the crowd just to touch the hem of his garment. And instantly, she was healed. That story stirred something in Daniel. He fell to his knees and prayed through tears, Lord, I will not give up. Even if I have only one thread of hope left, I will cling to you. He also thought of Elijah. 7 times he sent his servant to look for signs of rain. 6 times the servant returned with nothing. But on the 7th time, a small cloud the size of a man's hand appeared, heralding a great downpour. Daniel smiled through his tears. Maybe I'm still on the 6th time. The rain is coming on the 7th. A promise stronger than darkness. The days went by, but Daniel was no longer the same man. A new fire had been lit within him, the fire of unshakable faith. He now understood that trials were temporary, but God's promises were eternal. He clung to the words in Romans 8:28. All things work together for good to those who love God. Daniel began to pray not only for himself, but also for others walking through their own struggles. He started sharing encouragement, speaking hope, and found that in lifting others up, he too was lifted. One morning, while in prayer, Daniel felt an overwhelming peace wash over him. He no longer asked when or why. Instead, he whispered, "Lord, I know you are at work. I trust you." For the first time in years, a genuine smile appeared on his face. The promised breakthrough. One day, a new job opportunity suddenly opened, something he had prayed for long ago. Yet the greater miracle was not the job itself, but the change within him. Daniel realized that the true breakthrough was not just outward blessing, but inward transformation. He had learned patience, trust, and the courage never to quit. He understood that God's promise would always outweigh the strength of the enemy. Even when darkness brought its fiercest storm, it could not overcome the soul held firmly by God. He held on to the words of Isaiah, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." His heart burned with a certainty. He was no victim, but a victor through Christ. A message for others. From then on, Daniel began writing down his journey, sharing it with those who felt weary. He spoke not as someone who had always stood tall, but as one who had touched the depths of despair and been lifted by grace. He told them, "Do not confuse God's delay with his silence. He is working even when you cannot see. The wilderness is not punishment, but preparation. The chains you carry today will become the testimony of your freedom tomorrow. Hold on, for the rain will come, sometimes from nothing more than a cloud the size of a hand." He urged people to pray together, to stand firm, and to spread the flame of hope, for every chosen one carries a divine purpose. The chosen one. One evening, as the sun set and golden light spread across the sky, Daniel sat on his porch, gazing into the distance. His heart was no longer heavy as before. He knew the journey was not over, and trials would still come, but they no longer frightened him. He smiled and whispered, "I am chosen. Not because I am strong, but because he is faithful. I will not quit. I will move forward, for my breakthrough is near." And in that very moment, he felt the presence of God, not as a distant theory, but as a living fire burning within, a flame that no darkness could ever extinguish.